Joining us now, president and founder of the Eurasia Group and G0 Media, Ian Bremmer. The Trump campaign's not commenting on this either. Is there any reason to believe that they would tap Musk as an emissary to Iran? We don't have diplomatic relations, but he is a private citizen.
Yeah, it's certainly much more plausible if you want to figure out if there is room for engagement. The Iranians have been reaching out to the Europeans as well as America's Gulf allies pretty consistently over the last few weeks because they're in a horrible position. They don't have an effective way to strike back against Israel. They know that their energy resources, their nuclear capabilities, and their leadership potentially vulnerable to being targeted, and that President-elect Trump is really interested in facilitating that. So they've been reaching out. Easiest way to see what a deal might look like could be sending Elon Musk. I certainly suspect Trump was fully in the loop before he made that meeting. Let's put it that way.
What do you think of Elon Musk being the person to conduct, if he is, this shadow diplomacy?
Well, I think he's more capable than Dennis Rodman was in the first term. So you remember that Dennis was doing that for Trump on North Korea. He also has a lot more influence, both influence globally as well as maybe influence in favor of his own business interests. So this is unprecedented territory for U.S. diplomacy. You've also seen, of course, that Musk was on the phone with Zelensky together with Trump. Now, Musk, as a private citizen, has done more for Ukraine than any other private citizen in the United States, maybe in the world, given Starlink and the fact that Zelensky would have a hard time functioning militarily without it. But more recently, he's also promoted a lot of Kremlin talking points against Zelensky in trying to end the war. For me, the most interesting point going forward is whether or not Elon Musk is going to be on Trump's first phone call with Xi Jinping. Because, you know, Katie, when I think about U.S.-China relations, I see a large number of Trump appointees that are among the most hawkish on China. I see Trump, who talks about tariffs, but also is inclined to cut deals with anybody if a good deal is there for the offing. And, you know, Kissinger's dead. The only person in the world that has access to both Xi Jinping and the president-elect happens to be the richest man in the world. So we're going to be talking about this a lot going forward.
I'm curious to just stick on Iran for another beat. You know, I heard it said by a very high-ranking leader in the Middle East that maybe the way forward is to change the posture on Iran, because Iran is the one backing these proxy groups. Iran is the one that's threatening to destabilize everything by, you know, backing the wars in Gaza and the Hezbollah in Lebanon, et cetera. And maybe a change in posture toward Iran going forward would be enough to normalize things or stabilize things in the Middle East, allow Saudi Arabia to make that deal with Israel to normalize relations.
Well, first of all, the deal between the Saudis and the Israelis, everybody in the U.S. wants, the Democrats and the Republicans. The Saudis aren't yet prepared to accept that because their precondition is a two-state solution for the Palestinians. That's at least what Mohammed bin Salman and his foreign minister, Prince Faisal, are saying, as long as the war in Gaza is going on. Might that change when Trump becomes president and if we no longer see an active war? Might. It's certainly possible. So everybody wants to see that agreement. That's not right now in the ability of the Americans to make happen. For the Iranians, they're in an untenable position. They really have two choices. They can either reach out and try to normalize and stabilize relations with the rest of the world, and their newly elected reformist in Iranian context, President Pezeshkian, clearly is interested in that. The other option is go nuclear. And, you know, otherwise there's no deterrence. The big deterrence that the Iranians had historically to prevent the Israelis from attacking them, the Americans from attacking them, was Hezbollah, the most powerful non-state military actor in the world. And the Israelis have just shown the Iranians and everybody else that they can act with impunity against Hezbollah, and Hezbollah can't do very much in response. So, you know, right now, the Iranians are out of options, and they've got a supreme leader that's like 85 years old, probably with stomach cancer. How are they going to handle that transition? They've got a population that is pretty restive, that demonstrates a lot. It's harder and harder for them to use repression against them effectively without getting more and more social instability. So clearly, this is a time that if the Americans wanted to see what a deal from Iran might look like, would it be considerably larger in scale and give than what Obama multilaterally was able to negotiate with the old JCPOA, the Iranian nuclear deal, which Trump, of course, unilaterally pulled out of. It's worth exploring that.
Yeah.
And again, I would rather have that done through official diplomatic channels. But the fact that Elon had that conversation, I do think it is more likely that it facilitates where the U.S. might want to see an Iran relationship go than any other options that Trump has right now.
Yeah, it seems like there might be some opportunity in the Middle East for this next administration, should they choose to pursue it. Ian Bremmer, thank you very much for joining us.